When I was 13, my parents had this one rule at the dinner table that drove me absolutely crazy. No elbows on the table, ever. And my dad enforced this rule like he was guarding the crown jewels. Every single meal, he'd sit there, watching, waiting. One elbow on the table? That's a warning. Do it again? Second warning. Hit 3 strikes and congratulations, you're washing dishes for an entire week. By the time I was 13, I was done. Completely done. So I made a decision. If my parents wanted perfect table manners, I was going to give them perfect table manners. More than they ever asked for. The first night, I walked into the dining room wearing a clip-on tie and my Sunday church clothes. I pulled out my mom's chair, gave a dramatic bow, and said, "Your seat awaits, madam." My mom burst out laughing. My dad did not. But here's the thing. He couldn't say a word, because technically, I was being polite, and that was only the beginning. The next night, I brought out a spotless white cloth napkin. I unfolded it like it was part of some royal ceremony, laid it across my lap, and after every few bites, I gently dabbed the corners of my mouth, like there were photographers in the room. My dad narrowed his eyes at me, and I knew I was winning. Then came the bell, a tiny silver handbell. From that point on, whenever I wanted something at dinner, I didn't ask for it. I rang for it. Ding. Could someone pass the salt? Ding. May I have the butter, please? Ding. And that's when my dad finally snapped. "We don't have a butler." I looked at him, dead serious, and said, "Then perhaps someone should inform Mother, as she appears to be serving in that capacity." My mom nearly choked on her drink. My dad looked like he was reconsidering his entire life choices. But the real breaking point, that came a few weeks later, the night my grandparents came over for dinner. I walked in carrying a small leather notebook, and the second they saw it, everyone got nervous. Because from that moment on, every time someone broke proper etiquette, I wrote it down. My grandma reached for the water before offering it to anyone else. "Scratch, scratch, scratch. Most unseemly," I whispered. My grandfather laughed a little too loudly. "Scratch, scratch, scratch. Highly irregular." And then, my dad made the biggest mistake of the entire night. He chewed, with his mouth slightly open. I slowly looked up from my notebook. The whole room went quiet. I wrote something down, closed the notebook, and announced, "Father has chewed with his mouth open for approximately 2.3 seconds. The Queen would be most displeased." My grandmother lost it laughing. My grandfather was wiping tears from his eyes. Even my mom couldn't hold it together. And my dad? My dad just sat there, silent, red in the face, staring at his plate like it had personally betrayed him. That night, my parents called an emergency family meeting, and they made a new rule. No elbows on the table, but absolutely under no circumstances any more Victorian roleplay. And just like that, the war was over. Now here's the thing. I never got the rule removed, but I made absolutely sure that nobody in that house ever wanted to bring it up again. And even now, years later, if my dad starts commenting on my posture, I just dab my mouth with a napkin, give him a long, disappointed look, and quietly whisper, "Most unseemly." The conversation always ends right there.